What up, folks? It's your boy Trailz, and we back with another one. And I'm late, but we gonna be a little bit later. Let's see if I can get this video executed and done within 30 minutes of your time and mine. But make sure first and foremost you hit that like and sub for more. As always, we here. And we got to do a reaction to this Tina Torres Panda Chop News interview. Look, they already bothering me. But yeah, let's break this down and then we're gonna get back to work. But first and foremost, Panda Chop News is not responsible for anything that the person they are interviewing says. So do not ratio these guys. We're actually grateful that they're able to provide this type of platform where people could put their foot in their mouths, so to speak. And we gonna break this down like always and keep it gangster the whole time. But without further ado, here we go.
So we got so much to talk about. I know you got a busy schedule, so I'm glad that you were able to find time to talk today. All right, first and foremost, Fat Joe versus the FBA. You know, he called the FBA a bunch of broke N-words and said that they were radical racists. And this comes from, Fat Joe's been saying for the longest time that hip hop was created by blacks and Puerto Ricans 50-50. The FBA has been pushing back on that, saying that, no, this is created and found by foundational black Americans, and Puerto Ricans and other Latinos have contributed along the way, but they were not the inventors, right? So that's the reason why Fat Joe is upset. What did you think about that?
I mean, like, I had this conversation with Ralph McDaniels back in like 2017, and from people that were around at the time. It's really hard to pinpoint and tell who exactly made up hip hop because was not created by one person.
If you're an outsider, but as far as being a foundational black American such as myself, we know who created hip hop. We know where those layers originate from because that is the way of life culture for us. We know that Puerto Ricans did not do 50-50. It wasn't 60-40. It wasn't 70-30. It wasn't 80-20. It wasn't even 90-10. So let's get one thing straight when we break this down. And let's let her finish and then analyze that quick part.
It's
right.
It's a whole energy that takes place that people start to contribute to. It's a pot, and they put there, and then next thing you know, it becomes an organization, and people start to group themselves into this thing, and that's how it begins to grow. So
yeah, true. But black people, and that's how it began to grow and melted and originated. So for anyone who is not black, as we say, to sit here and talk about a melting pot of culture within a culture that has never been really a melting pot besides the ethnogenesis that it once went through with slavery a long time ago. So to act like all of a sudden we're just so open arms to every other culture and, hey, help us make this and help us build that is not true, nor is it accurate historically. And that's one thing that my YouTube shorts help provide clarity with. When you go look at my shorts with the black inventions or the black pioneers of music, definitely take a look at those. That's education. That's blackness. That has nothing to do with Puerto Ricans. I'm sorry. You can be upset about the situation, but no.
So, when I sat there with Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box, he agreed that it was a combination of, multi-different people, So, when I sat there with Ralph McDaniels, Video Music Box, he agreed that it was a combination of, multi-different people, putting in their 2 cents.
Yeah, multi-different people. But notice she didn't say that he agreed that there were Puerto Ricans as part of those multi-people. No, she left it broad brush because she knew what she was saying. It's like someone when they take 20% of the truth, and then they add 80% of their opinion on the stretch and reach. It's kind of like what we're doing and witnessing here. This is exactly what she's on.
He was like, when they were doing what they was doing in the Bronx, Joe Bataan was taking kids into the studio in Spanish Harlem and having them rap on top of Latin soul. This is actually why I call hip hop the bastard child of Latin music, because sonically, what they were hearing in the streets of New York City at the time came from that Latin music. Boogaloo was the combination, the fusion of and having them rap on top of Latin soul. This is actually why I call hip hop the bastard child of Latin music, because sonic.
And this is also why she's upset at Fat Joe. She's upset at Fat Joe because he said 50-50. But to her, it's 100% Puerto Rican. That makes sense. And she's going to break it down on why I say that to prove my point with that without even saying it.
What they were hearing in the streets of New York City at the time came from that Latin music. Boogaloo was the combination, the fusion of R&B and soul and Latin rhythms coming together. And this is where I believe hip hop stemmed from. The problem with Boogaloo is that genre was pretty much deaded, because the guys at Fania, when all these Boogaloo bands, these young kids were starting to take gigs, they would take gigs for cheaper than the other salsa bands. So they started to kind of screw up the market. The guys at Fania got jealous, started blacklisting the bands, and the genre just kind of died out. And then from there, that was the late 60s, right? Then from there, and it had lived its time during the 70s. Then from there, hip hop literally is the rising of the ashes from that.
You hear that? You hear that? Is the rising of the ashes from some genre that died way a long time ago. So yeah, it's not like black people took what they were going through and created something. They had to go bury their seed in the ashes of Puerto Rican culture.
And early hip hop, you hear a lot of percussion in there. You hear, certain rhythms, certain sounds, and it's just a melting pot.
Because what people are saying is like these elements existed prior to, how they say that hip hop was created in 1973. Like that's really more of like the unification of the elements, right? Like people are saying that this, all these elements had existed previously, breakdancing, graffiti, but it wasn't until that time that they really called it.
We're talking for hundreds, maybe thousands of years that they've existed.
So Puerto Ricans were breakdancing for thousands of years, but there's no famous super killing it Puerto Rican that we know of today. You can't fly over to Puerto Rico and see a bunch of Puerto Ricans breakdancing now.
That time that they really called it.
We're talking for hundreds, maybe thousands of years that they've existed.
Right.
So everybody wants to be the originator and the creator of something. You know what I mean? But we're all just influenced by
that's projection.
Something greater.
So are you saying that you agree with Fat Joe that it was 50-50? Or you're just saying you're not sure?
I mean, I'm not gonna put out any numbers. I know, and from the conversations that I've had, from just studying the history of the music, from studying Latin music into hip hop, from mambo to hip hop, if you study all of that, you hear the sounds, you're musically in tune, you know what's going on, the history of what was happening in the streets of New York City at that time as well. You study that history, and then also coupled with, my personal interaction with pioneers in hip hop. So I'm not gonna say it's 50-50. I'm not going to put out numbers like that. That's,
But she's okay with putting out numbers that Puerto Ricans were doing hip hop for hundreds of thousands of years ago. Those numbers are okay for her to address, right?
Pretty audacious to say that, but it was a melting pot of people coming in. And I would say there were even Jews and Italians in there too.
Okay. And then what did you think about how Joe approached the situation and the way that he said it?
What I want to know is, who is letting this guy, what Illuminati master is letting this guy talk about this stuff right now? Because that's not the agenda of the country. You know what I mean?
As if Illuminati would ever want to deal with poor Puerto Ricans. Culture vulture Puerto Ricans. Right. Especially Fat Joe. I don't think so.
So I'm like, why is he even talking about this right now? Because we know that right now in America that, it's black supremacists. So he might get a spanking for saying what he's saying.
Wait. Okay. What do you mean by black supremacists?
I told you in one episode of yours, I said when I sat with Cootie, I was at Soho House with Cootie, right? It was that time when Kanye was on TMZ. when he was saying, well, 400 years sounds like a choice, 400 years of slavery, right? And everybody misquoted him and said, oh, Kanye said 400 years of slavery is a choice. No, he said it sounds like a choice. And I sat and I was talking with Cootie, the man who had been his friend, been filming him for years. And he was like, I was like, well, this is what's going on. I'm like, they're bashing Kanye because he is bringing a message of unity. That's what he was speaking at the moment. You know what I mean? And I could, even in that one little compartment, aside from all his other issues, that one compartment of what he said. And then Cootie was like, well, Kanye is crazy. And I got so defensive. I was like, Kanye is not crazy. Because especially at the time, I can't speak for Kanye right now, but at the time he was coming out with a lot of truth. And I was understanding what he was saying. And I was
So she's using Kanye to justify. I don't know what she's trying to justify with that, bruh. Like, really, what are you justifying with using Kanye? With Kanye said, how can you resonate with what a man was saying to his people when you're not that people? You're on the outside looking in, ma'am. How can you resonate with Kanye speaking to black folks about black issues? You are asserting yourself into other cultures, and it's also great for why we're fighting against that, because as you can see, the same people who insert themselves want to steal it at the same time. They're not coming here like, hey, these ain't the Puerto Ricans like Big Pun, who talking about Boricua Bodea, talking about thank you, black people, for accepting us, paying homage to the pioneers. These ain't the same people. These are the people who, I don't know, this woman, she's like some type of crazy feminist who's probably got a lot of personal trauma in her life that's inflicting her thought process today. And I'm pretty sure she's going to break that down in the video as well. But yeah, I don't know what she's trying to prove with justifying what Kanye is talking about, because none of that has anything to do with her. So her interpretation of said info is mute.
I can't speak for Kanye right now, but at the time he was coming out with a lot of truth. And I was
and you can't speak for him at that time either, because that truth wasn't even for you.
Understanding what he was saying, and I was resonating with what he was saying. So Cootie and I was seeing the temperature of where we were going in America, right? This was 2018. Next thing you know, Black Lives Matter and COVID hits, right? Before Black Lives Matter.
I hate when chicks always say right. I can't stand that for some reason. Right. Right.
This was 2018. Next thing you know, Black Lives Matter and COVID hits, right? Before Black Lives Matter, I wasn't hated on by black people. Maybe secretly, but after Black Lives Matter, all of a sudden, I became a Karen when talking about rap music that talks about murdering black people.
Maybe you deserve to be hated on because you just literally called an atrocious moment in American history of a man being killed Black Lives Matter. You don't even have the respect to give name to the incident that occurred. You want to point out Black Lives Matter when I guarantee you, if we looked at her voter registry, she has donated to Act Blue. Act Blue, the same people who allowed Black Lives Matter to come on their registry and make $20 million, while Act Blue made $3.4 billion. And no one said a peep about Act Blue because they are white. But hey, Black Lives Matter is so bad, right? Hey, y'all gave $20 million to some rando gay people. Ooh, that's so bad.
You say supremacy, though, right? Do you think that black people have just reached the point where they're tired of dealing with the things that they've been dealing with?
No, it's an agenda. You know why? No, it's an agenda. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, I'll tell you what your plight is about. Not listen to you and get an understanding of you and see where you see how you feel. No, I'm going to tell you, you have an agenda.
why Beyonce's Black is King. This whole black agenda, and I'm just watching commercials and it's like, pills for, like vitamins for black women. Like, what about vitamins for all women? You know what I mean?
So she's mad because black people got their own vitamins and hair products. And the funny thing about all that is nobody told her she couldn't buy any of it. It doesn't say Puerto Ricans may not purchase product, you know. You could still buy it. Look at her hair. It looked like she used Tresemme and Pantene Pro V anyways. Ma'am, you use the stuff that's for all women. It's okay for us to make stuff specifically for ourselves. That's not discrimination.
And I'm just watching commercials and it's like, pills for, like vitamins for black women. Like, what about vitamins for all women? You know what I mean? I get we all have different hair textures. But really at the core, we're all the same. We all have vaginas.
Why didn't you make vitamins for Puerto Rican women? Hair products for Puerto Rican women then. If you really cared about your people and your culture that much, and you saw, hey, black people are sourcing themselves with their products, maybe I should try that with the Puerto Ricans. Nah, who got time for that, right? It's better to sit and bitch, right?
All have titties. We all, you know what I mean? We're women. So why are we being now segregated like this? And this is what I'm saying is this agenda it's been planted years, decades. You know what I mean? Like it's since World War II. People don't realize that the Nazi agenda was meant for right now.
And she is the Nazi agenda.
Happening right now.
Because none of that got anything to do with black folks. It has nothing to do with hip hop. It has nothing to do with explaining why Puerto Ricans created hip hop.
Is 440 Nazi Hertz frequency programming.
She's just,
you know. So are you saying that this agenda is by black people, or are you saying they're by white people that is pushing it?
Listen, it's not by black nor whites. It's by groups of people that want power and control, black and white.
Never heard of that group. What's that called? Because last time I checked, Illuminati, Skulls and Bones, all those type of guys were all white folks. There's no congregation of black and white people trying to get paid at the top when it's the white people at the top who can print the money however damn they please. They don't need black people to do that. They only need to be in control of writing the checks for the shit black people do. And that's what they do. Therefore, there is no congregation needed.
All colors. Literally today, I was just having a conversation and I was doing makeup and I was talking about, because now everybody wants to hear what I have to say now that truth is coming out. Before I was a crazy girl, but now they're like, well, what about this? What about that? I started talking about the Boule. I said the Boule, because talking about Beyonce.
No, they just want to see how crazy you are and monetize it. Just like Panda, shout out Panda. And make sure if you go watch this on your own, hit the like and sub to him for bringing us this epic.
Beyonce is actually a descendant of the British royal family, right? People don't know that. She also has, her mother comes from Louisiana, and those ties tie to King Louis XIV, France, and then Britain, right? But they breed their people.
And this is more factoids that are oblivious to anything about this woman, her culture, and all that. We're going to speed it up a little bit because I'm getting low on time, and she's just taking this conversation to the extreme, which is great, but I don't have time.
Certain way, right? I'm not saying it was spearheaded by whites nor spearheaded by blacks. I'm saying it was spearheaded by both, because both agreed. So the Boule is a sect of Freemasonry with mixed people, black and white people that that were heavy in Louisiana, right? That came from this bloodline, and they were had been purposefully planted within governments, within communities, within Hollywood, within all places of America, so that we are now having this racial divide thing going on.
Yeah, it can't be slavery and none of that. It's the Boule, and this is also a jab at anyone black who has any type of professionalism or anything going on, because now she just discredited your work, your struggles, and everything to you being a Boule plant. You know, you didn't work for your career. You're a part of the Boule.
because if we go back, slavery is not even about race. Okay, slavery is about money. What a lot of people fail to realize was that slavery existed on the planet like normal.
No, that was called indentured servitude. And when the white folks who promised to come over to this country to do indentured servitude to become Americans decided to flee and hide and blend in, that's when they said, hey, let's enslave the dark-skinned folks because we can always tell them among us. Making it about race.
Thousands of years ago, okay? We had Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. So people who want to claim to be a part of the 12 tribes of Judah and all that, and they want to go heavy on that, guess what? His own Hebrew brothers sold him into slavery to Egypt, right? Slavery has been prevalent in Africa for thousands of years.
But do you not think that that's offensive to somebody, to black people that have, had a history in this? Like, for you to come out and say something like that, don't you think that is a bit insensitive?
We need to, no, because we need to go beyond 400 years of fucked up history.
But no, so we can't look at 400 years, but she can go back and look at hundreds, if not thousands of years to when Puerto Ricans created hip hop. It's okay for her to dig back in the past to establish her roots of ownership, but we can't deal with the atrocities in our past because we need to look past the 400 years of bullshit.
Skewed history, mistranslated history on purpose. I will go as far to say that the civil rights movement and the Holocaust were both psyops, made up, staged things to create a certain ideology and mind control over masses right now. And that Holocaust, that staged Holocaust that happened in World War II, still is affecting America today. That civil rights movement, all that stuff is still affecting America today.
But wouldn't you say that black people don't care about that, though, in the sense of like whether or not it was a psyop or not, it still affected them and it still caused them pain as a people?
Well, of course. Guess what? But guess what? Guess how we heal from our trauma? You don't sit there and talk about it and cry on it and vibrate on that hurt and that pain. You go through it, you realize, and then you have to heal, and then you have to now take responsibility for your own projection instead of being a victim. Oh, well, white people are racist everywhere.
So you have to heal and take accountability for something someone else did to you. She doesn't even know how to be a victim. That's so hilarious.
And I'm not going to be able to live a life of abundance and peace, and because people are racist. Well, that is now your personal reality that you are creating because they created a mass agenda to program the masses. But one person has the ability to create their own reality. So let go of that big agenda and singularly create and heal from your personal trauma. Because truly, I know that I don't mean to like say it like this, but I know I don't have the audience to properly convey what I want to from a true higher.
That might be a good thing. That might be God doing God's work.
Consciousness standpoint right now, but just say this, if I can simplify it. We'll say, even me, I got sexually abused, right? Am I going to sit here?
Here we go. And evidence of personal trauma, which taints the whole cognitive thinking. Busted.
And go out and be scared of men everywhere and peg every man as a fucking rapist and predator because I've been sexually abused.
And how do we know she doesn't already do that? She looks definitely like a feminist.
And several times? No, I'm not going to do that. If I can create that, I can continue to create that reality and vibrate on that frequency. But if I want to heal, then I have to take the responsibility and to change my vibration and my mentality. One, to not only forgive them, but forgive myself, forgive all of humanity as a whole, because we have all been living in trauma for thousands of years on this planet. And then move forward with my life, because everybody has the ability to create you have a 6 feet circumference of electromagnetic force field around you, your projection of your personal reality.
So I get what you're saying,
from that.
Go ahead.
And now that I think about this, it's another psyop, another inception that he's creating, more divide.
And there we go. He's creating more divide, psyops. Her boogeyman is the man, pretty much.
Another compartment to create another class of people where you can control them easier.
I get what you're saying, Tina, but wouldn't you say, though, that there's more layers when you're talking about racism and oppression versus, being abused in a single instance?
No, it's all trauma. It's all pain. It's all hurt. You know what I mean? It's literally all the same thing. You're talking about
a singular instance of pain versus, a system.
So, yeah, I need to ask for forgiveness if someone shoots me in my leg because it's trauma.
Dramatic situation of everywhere you're going, right?
I can strike up another Me Too movement and get hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of women all over the country that have been sexually abused, and we can do the same thing,
I told you she's a feminist. Look at her. Look at that male-hating face right there.
Same thing. And then we can go bash men. All men you're all evil because you're all rapists. All of you. Same thing.
Okay, what about the FBA as a group, though? Wouldn't you say that that is a strong movement for Black people to be moving forward and taking back what they believe is theirs?
Like Killer Mike and 5%ers? No, it's not. It's more trauma and more toxicity. That's not actually healing. It's actually a trauma lifestyle, which is fine. It's your prerogative. You are welcome to live that way. And I'm not like, listen, I'm just...
Wait, how is it a toxic trauma lifestyle?
Because you're not forgiving and you're not healing.
What? So we're supposed to forgive white people for being enslaved for 400 years? I don't think so. It's never gonna happen.
Can you go into...
And forgiveness?
Well, unless reparations, you give a chance for forgiveness, but one must seek forgiveness in order to get it. And white people aren't really seeking that, to be honest with you. So, no.
And forgiveness is not for the person, the people who harmed you. Forgiveness is actually for yourself. And truly, let's go to higher consciousness now. We live in a simulation. Nothing in here is actually real. We are all connected as one. Right? And we are literally all here to play out a program and to rise above that program. We all have hurdles, right? I chose this app.
If you are a program, you can only be based upon within the parameters of the program. It's impossible to rise above the program because you are programmed to be the program. The program cannot proceed what it's programmed to be.
Avatar, I chose this body. I'm not going to have the same trauma. I'm not going to have the same hurdles as somebody else who chose a different male body in that avatar. He's going to go through different experiences than me. But at the energy, at the end of the day, it's all the same. You want to heal? You want to be mad and be racist for the rest of your life? You can do that. You know what I mean? But okay. You're not going to really get anywhere. You're not going to ascend in consciousness by living like that. You're just coddling your trauma and feeding your hurt for the rest of your life instead of actually healing and forgiving. And then guess what? Where now you can show up for white people and you can love on them, even when they spit in your face.
I feel like
never gonna fucking happen, lady. You are crazy. I don't think so. Puerto Ricans did not create hip hop, and you're done. And we're going to conclude this one. I'll be back for the part 2, depending on how well this one does. So go ahead, go in the comments. Let me know what you think about this part 1 of this. And if you definitely want part 2, hit that like and sub. And we will be here to bring it all to you, as well as a more further breakdown into actual history. It's been great, folks, but my kid about to walk in the door and I got to get back to work. So thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like and sub, and definitely let me know what's really cracking with this, because yeah, I'm pissed. I have no respect for anyone trying to come into the culture as a vulture and then stake claim and ownership when we just opened the door for you. And we putting a stop to all that. Her, Fat Joe, Lefty Gunplay, all y'all. We ain't letting none of that ride. So like I said, make sure you hit that like and sub. And thanks for watching. And like always, deuces.